Muted and ready to go.
Can you guys hear us?
Yep, can over here.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We're ready to get going on this July City of Flagstaff Parks and Recreation Commission. We'll start, as we always do, with some attendance. Commissioner Conway, that is me, I am here. Co-Chair Parsons, here. Commissioner Kerr. Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Rowden. Commissioner Stackhouse. And Commissioner McLeod. McLeod?
Here.
I say that so. McLeod, my apologies. I'm all phonetically trying to read names. And how about Councilmember Harris? Are you on the call with us today? Roll call has been completed. Moving now to the approval of the June 19th meeting minutes, which were available as part of the packet. Does anybody have any corrections or can we approve those minutes?
Change some motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes by Co-Chair Parsons and a second by Commissioner Stackhouse. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say nay. All right. The minutes have been approved. Public participation is this portion of the meeting is for items that are not on the agenda. The commission cannot act on items presented during the public participation of the agenda. The commission is prohibited by open meeting law from discussing or considering the item until the item is officially placed on an agenda. And we ask that all public participants limit comments to 5 minutes. Do we have anybody maybe in the room? Do we have anybody online that wishes to speak as part of this public participation? Super duper. Let's go ahead and begin. The next item on the agenda is an open spaces / Parks and Recreation Commission's history.
So I will kind of kick us off, and then Stacy Probart there. She's our deputy.
Hey guys.
Stacy.
Hello, everyone.
Stacy's helping us out today as well. Stacy, did you want me to kick us off with that history?
Sure. Well, first I'd like to start by saying hello to everyone. Thank you for serving on the commission. You're very valuable to us, and council really appreciates your participation. To proceed this conversation, excuse me, this question was proposed at an open space commission meeting, and it was, should the open space commission and the Parks and Recreation Commission be combined into one commission? Rebecca and I don't know if Amy's there, both have history of when the Open Space Commission and the Parks and Rec Commission were one, but she'll explain why they were broken out. So go ahead, Rebecca.
Thanks, Stacy. Amy is not here today, just so you know, Stacy. So the history is, as far as I remember, and I've been with the city for a while, more than 20 years. Open space, when we kind of started, before we had a true open space program, it by defunct really just land, or by default landed under Parks and Recreation. And so open space discussion items tended to happen at the Parks and Recreation Commission. Over time that grew clearly as open space became more of an intrinsic value for Flagstaff. And eventually, and I think this is where Stacy will jump in 2007, the two commissions were kind of separated and created their own list of things that they were to focus on. I can't think of the word that I'm trying to say.
Authority. They had their own authorities.
That's it. So we'll go through those, what the different authorities are. Stacy will help us with that. But that's just my knowledge from being part of the city, and Parks and Rec was part of Public Works at the time. So, and so was I. So I was just paying attention. Yeah, and I'll turn it back over to you, Stacy.
All right. So as Rebecca said, they once were one when they're under Public Works. But in 2007, council decided that they wanted to break apart the two commissions and have them on two separate authorities, which is focus areas. So we'll go over each of the authorities and what the duties of each commission are. As you can see, we're starting with the Open Space Commission because I did present to them first. Sorry, guys. So their authority and their duties are to advise council on acquisition, preservation, and alternatives for open space land management. They will also review and advise City Council on the development of open space long-range management plan and the policies to provide broad, long-term direction for planning and decision-making for the lands designated as urban open space management area in the Urban Open Spaces Plan of the Flagstaff Area Regional Land Use and Transportation Plan. They advise and assist council on ways to educate and involve the community on the value of open space. They advise on ways to work collaboratively with other governmental entities and other organizations to ensure the implementation of the Open Spaces Long Range Management Plan and the Flagstaff Area Regional Land Use and Transportation Plan. They advise council regarding regional open space issues, and they obtain public input on various programs, such as environmental education and interpretation of the use, operation, and management of open space. On the other hand, the Parks and Rec Commission duties, as you guys should be very familiar with, are to advise council through periodic written reports to them, recommending policy direction on city lands, structures, and facilities that are set aside or should be set aside or dedicated to recreational purposes, including but not limited to parks, swimming pools, playgrounds, playing and sports fields, and golf courses. It also should include but not be limited to advising and recommending policy direction in activities involving recreational and cultural pursuits of the elderly and the young, and to otherwise employ in constructive and wholesome manner leisure time of the citizens. City Council may consider the advice and recommendation of the council through the city manager to implement the recreational program as they see fit. The commission shall review and make recommendations on the annual budget of the parks section and recreation section prior to the submittal thereof to the city manager and the budget team. And then with respect to parks and recreation portion of the BBB tax, the commission shall make recommendations to council concerning the annual budgetary allocation of the parks and recreation portion of the tax. So that should include, but not be limited to, developing parks and recreation facilities and programs, funding for the Flagstaff Urban Trail System development and maintenance, developing, acquiring, and distributing material to promote parks and recreation, retaining of appropriate staff to implement approved programs, and then for the purposes of subsection D, which we just discussed, parks and recreation means the development and management of public parks, recreational facilities, and programs. And it also includes the foot trails. So Parks and Rec is really responsible for recreational opportunities, playgrounds, swimming pools, all of that in Flagstaff, where open space is responsible for preservation of green area. The membership of the Open Space Commission is for 7 voting members. They're all voting members. 6 of them are appointed by City Council as at-large members, and then there's 1 member from the Planning and Zoning Commission. All the members there, of course, serve 3-year terms, but the Planning and Zoning representatives abide by their term on the P&Z Commission. As for all commissions, which I know Commissioner Parsons is very familiar with on this one, members may serve 2 full terms, 1 partial term, and 2 full terms with a maximum service of 8 years. And you all have the council liaison of Councilmember Deb Harris. The Parks and Rec Commission is 7 members who are all appointed by council. Again, they have 3-year terms. They can serve the same number of terms. And you all's council member is, of course, Deb Harris as well. So before we go into the pros and cons of why we have 2 commissions versus 1 commission, I wanted to ask if there are any questions thus far. The composition of the commissions, the duties of the commissions, or the history behind the commissions. All right, I'm not seeing any. Of course, you know, there are 2 very separate authorities, even though they do seem to be conjoined. They do have different focus areas. So the Open Space Commission did ask us to come up with a list of pros and cons of combining the commissions. The pros of having 2 commissions, 1 commission for open spaces and 1 for Parks and Recreation, is that it allows, yes.
Question, hang on.
Sorry. Why are, so and this might be very basic, but why are we talking about combining them?
There was a question brought up by Open Space Commission, as we said at the beginning of the presentation. So the Open Space Commission did want to have more input and more collaboration. There's the word I'm looking for with the Parks and Rec Commission. So we went through this on why we would combine or why we would not combine. Are you guys interested in combining it all? Maybe I should ask that before we go on.
I guess I was just curious what if there was like an underlying reason that they were looking to do this, did they?
They were looking for areas of efficiency.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, staff did not see that need. The rest of the Open Space Commission did decide to vote to perhaps not go forward with trying to combine the commissions and just work with more collaboration. So if you guys would like me to sum this up really quickly, we could talk to you about collaboration between the 2 commissions instead of going through the pros and cons. Would that be helpful?
I still would like to hear the pros and cons. I was just unclear what brought this about. So it was just somebody wanting to.
Yes.
Efficiencies. That's fine.
Yes, exactly.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, so in staff's opinion, having 2 commissions, 1 for open spaces and 1 for Parks and Rec, allows for more public participation and input and a variety of ideas from all of the different commissioners as well as the public. The 2 meeting times allow for more members of the public to engage with the commissioners and to attend the meetings. And more members of the commissions are able to address council with a diverse base of community type of people and to work towards the tasks. I stated that so poorly and I apologize. I have not had enough coffee today and I have not been sleeping because of the heat. So the cons of having 2 commissions instead of 1 is that, of course, you guys have more meetings. So there's more meetings for staff. I think Rebecca is at all of the meetings generally. There is less direct engagement with the other commission's members. And 1 commission would allow for less diversity of thought and less opportunity for community input. However, the ideas for collaboration that we presented to the Open Space Commission was that we proposed that you guys have joint meetings on a regular basis, either once or twice a year or once a quarter. The second idea that we have is one that staff is already doing, is to have staff work together to bring commission ideas to both commissions. Staff works really, really well together, especially with Rebecca overseeing both programs. And of course, the chairs of each commission can attend the other commission's meetings. So Open Space was interested in having some joint meetings on a regular basis that you guys can discuss with staff. And then, of course, continuing to have staff work together. And the chair of the Open Space Commission did want to ask if they would be able to attend some of your meetings. or speak to the chairperson. And that is it for our presentation. It's not very long. Do you guys have any thoughts that you would like to discuss?
Coach, I like the idea of an action meeting. I think they used to do that. Did they not have a combined meeting every so often?
We haven't done it on any sort of regular basis.
No, but there wasn't a time when you were doing that.
Well, Parks and Rec was covering open space.
Okay.
topics.
So I remember when I first moved up here and looking, that was something. Showing you the fact, but I personally like that idea, so.
Would it be easier for staff to only run one meeting? Was that ever something that was kind of suggested by staff, or was this coming from open space?
I think that's one reason that the commissioner on the Open Space Commission brought it up. Because he thought it would be easier for staff. I honestly, I'm not sure that it would be because our topic areas are so different. And when we're presenting to you or the other commission on those things, you've seen our meetings typically last a couple of hours, so do theirs. So there's clearly agenda content for each commission. I think it could make the meetings longer, or we would have to rush through agenda items so quickly that we might not have the full discussion that we're able to have. And just in terms of staffing, like we were able to bring to this meeting staff that are very focused on Parks and Rec ideas and staff that go to open spaces or are dealing with open spaces. Bringing all staff together at one meeting. I just feel like that there would be too much to try to cover.
Was there something specific that they wanted input on in what we were?
Not necessarily, they just know that both commissions are under the pros umbrella and felt like we needed to explore the potential for efficiency to just have one commission.
I agree with our authority being so different, you know, like we're talking about budgets and fees, so on and so forth. But to add to parts, so I mean, they're just focused on my own space, so I don't really see a benefit in buying talk about things most. So that's why I like that on occasion doing a combined meeting.
And I think if the commission is in favor of joint meetings, it would help us to know how often we think that would be beneficial.
Are there very clear areas where where our commissions do cross over each other?
There might be in the future. For right now, there are a couple of items where there are foots or other trails on open space, near open space, connecting to open space. That definitely brings in Jim's team as the foots maintenance piece. Open space tends to focus on foots planning and connectivity. So there's some synergy there. To a degree, budget, because we are under the same division. Perhaps in the future, there will be more alignment with budget as we review the BBB tax and maybe be able to carve out some of the Parks and Rec funding of the BBB tax towards open space. That's an idea that I'm working on right now. And I see Stacy's got her hand up.
Yep, just a quick thought as well. One thing that commissioners are not familiar with is that staff does have a quarterly all staff liaison meeting where we do talk about any synergies that we might have between commissions. So for example, if you all are discussing the foots trails and Parks and Rec as well as the Bicycle Advisory Committee and the Transportation Commission, We do have an opportunity to discuss that as staff, just to let you all know that.
I think, to me, trusting staff to keep us abreast of what you guys are calling synergies is probably pretty adequate. It seems to me at this point, but I would think we could always send a representative to one of those meetings when it is appropriate, or when you guys are saying, hey, this would be a meeting that we could use at least one, if not the chair or co-chair from that meeting. And then when we go back to our meeting, we could kind of give a brief presentation of what we understood from what we heard. But it doesn't sound like making the meetings together is very advantageous for you guys. I don't, as long as I only have to go to one a month, everything.
So it's really hard to say too, without some kind of schedule, like quarterly or something, but does that really make sense? Because since we don't know what issues or synergies are going to come up, so yeah, I kind of defer to what Josh said is, well, maybe it's on a as needed basis, or ready to go attend one of their meetings and make a recommendation that we have a combined meeting and then we schedule it at that time.
I will say one other time that we did combined meetings was when we were working towards a joint project for what would have been the 2020 ballot, November ballot, and we were working together with both. We had members of each commission working together to pull together both the open space and Parks and Rec project that we could propose to council for being on the ballot as a initiative. And then COVID happened and the council decided not to do a bond election that year, and that's fine. But that's another example of the time that we would just out of necessity pull some folks together for a joint conversation.
I like the word necessity. It necessitates, I think that's.
Can I point out too what open space use is asking me? To the commission, so a few of the commissioners just reached out separately, and I'm sharing the same commission packet with them. And we made it based on who requested it, so that way they have the information delivered to their email, same time I send it to your boxes, so that can go in first. So if anybody in this commission wants open space agendas and packets, I can just email that to you when I send it to those commissioners. So you guys have a regular communication where you can choose it.
When is their meeting?
It's the Monday after ours. They meet the Monday, we meet the third.
4 o'clock. I mean, I think we give an open space update as part of our package, so having their compete or agendas might be helpful just to see.
Just from a purely nosy standpoint, I would love to sit there. You know,
I think you have at least two that would like to see the open space packet. I mean, that's why we did the pros monthly newsletter.
Yeah.
So that both commissions are getting that as the main update for both for all program areas. Their packets tend to have a strategic plan that they've been working on updating, so they have a little bit more content in their packets that come together, but yeah.
My 2 cents for what it's worth, I think there is some overlap with what we do and what they do, and even open space versus recreation. People recreate in open space. What is recreation? I mean, and trails and like facility, is open space not a recreation facility? I think there's a lot of commonality there. I think it could, I don't know how difficult it is to fill commissions positions, but I think that's a load off of somebody's plate if you're only having to fill spots on one commission that roughly serves a similar purpose. But I think the collaborative way is a good way to start, to even see, is there enough overlap to even make it worthwhile, to make it beneficial for both groups. Maybe there's a twice a year, it's around budget. Budget's one of those similar areas. Maybe you're doing one budget presentation with both commissions and then everybody can dog it out there. And maybe there's another one towards kind of the hot and happening season, it's kind of like, here's what's going on. But yeah, my input would be keep it separate, try to collaborate and maybe meet twice a year as necessary.
You had me at longer meetings,
Yeah.
that when I heard that one, I was like, my attention span is only 2 hours long.
Yeah, something that should possibly have shown.
Yes, I
agree. Great movie.
No, I'm like, it's
It's a great movie, it's 3 hours. Alright, so Commissioner McLeod, do you have any input from the internet space?
Nothing from me, thanks. I agree with your thoughts.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Thank you, guys. I'll go ahead and stop sharing and turn their meeting back over to Rebecca.
Stacy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy.
Buffalo Park grant update.
Okay, we're going to turn this over to Gino, and I am going to share his presentation. Did you say Buffalo Park is first?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, Buffalo Park and Avery Accessibility Grant. Go to the next slide, very good. So just a quick recap of the overview of the project details and project scope. Total cost of the project is $234,848. $100,000 of that were grant funds from the Arizona State Parks Heritage Fund. And the remaining $134,848 funds were from the city of Flagstaff through cash and in-kind labor. And just a general overview of the project scope included the new trail mix on the entire 2-mile loop trail, 6 new universal exercise stations, 4 ADA parking spaces, new adjoining sidewalk going from the parking spaces and through the main entryway and tying into the accessible restrooms that are currently on site, and as well as repair the 12 washout areas that were identified through the initial scoping of the project. Kind of just a quick synopsis, kind of what's been done out there and what's still left to do. In the fall, the park staff was able to complete the new trail mix addition for the 2-mile loop trail, as well as the installation of the 6 new universal exercise features, and also any of the site work with those features, kind of making an accessible pathway off the trail to the platform and feature of the exercise equipment itself. We're able to start some of the work on some of the drainage areas until winter hit. And then obviously it was a pretty substantial winter, which set us back quite a bit. It was May when we were finally able to get back out there to regroup and start addressing some of the other punch list items as part of the grant project. First thing we had to do was we did have to make some repairs to a couple small sections, regrading of some of the trail work that we currently did. And that was mainly in some of the drainage areas that we were unable to get to prior to winter. So with that snow melt, it did there was some erosion issues. Then we were able to get back and kind of knock out the rest of the drainage repairs. And kind of what that entailed was these washout areas, trenching through the trail, putting some underground piping in, trying to divert the water under the trail instead of over it, as well as use the riprap and some other materials kind of reinforce the edges of the trail in these washout areas, trying to keep the integrity of it. Hopefully next time when we finally get some monsoons, we'll see how well it works out there. The next step, we did contract with Westpac Construction, and they did the work on the hardscape, so they were able to complete. They did 4 parking stalls, as you can see here in this picture, as well as that new walkway that kind of ties, like I said, through that entryway, wraps around and ties into the accessible restrooms. Really turned out great. I don't know if anybody's been up there, but that whole entryway is really sharp right now. It's a great improvement up there. Hmm?
It's incredible.
It is.
Good design.
Great. And also as part of that, park staff did have to come in and kind of do some slight grade work that Westpac wasn't included in their proposal around the parking stalls, as well as adding some new millings to kind of just create like a nice level platform entryway in and out of the parking stalls. Go to the next slide. That kind of brings us to kind of where we're at right now. We are substantially complete with the project. Mainly what's left is the signage elements that were part of the project. As you can see, the new trail markers, that's what the sign is going to look like on the left. But we 8 of them. They're placed every quarter mile along the loop trail. And we actually did get, the signs are coming in this week. So as long as they do get delivered this week, next week we'll be scheduling the install. The last part is going to be the new trailhead and map that goes in the current kiosk that's out there. We're still working with our multimodal partners. They completed the design and ordered the sign. Unsure when that will get here, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and that'll be a pretty seamless installation. Literally replacing an existing sign out there. So as soon as we have that sign in our hands, we'll get that replaced and we'll be able to wrap up this grant project. So, I'd say by middle of August at the latest. It all depends on this new the trailhead sign, but we'll be wrapping up this project in hopefully the next 3 weeks. Any questions on where we're at with Buffalo Park?
So the only thing left to do is the signage at this point?
It is.
Okay. And then you mentioned that there's been repairs, so is there an anticipated annual repair budget put into this, figuring that you're gonna get damaged, people walk on it as the snow melts, it's all kinds.
Yeah, it's not currently budgeted, but we do have funding, especially in our Foots budget right now, that is saved for kind of like trail repairs in general. Where
People walk on it as the snow melts.
It's
for sure. Surface.
And it's the same trail mix we use on our other Foots trails, so we always have a stockpile of it available to us in our storage yard.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of, just getting material out there and bringing it. So the repairs anticipated are very minor. There will be probably some annual maintenance that will go into it, but on a very small scale.
It's not stabilized, is it? It's just compacting.
It's just, compact.
Great project. Yeah, well done.
That's great.
Always good to see leveraging grant funds to
Right.
complete things.
And it is.
Yep. Top notch.
Was it in on budget?
What's that?
Was it in on budget?
Was in, but timing was a little off through the winter, but
Right.
still getting it done.
Great stuff. Anybody else, any questions, comments? We'll move on to the next item. Thorpe Park restroom update.
All right, the park restroom project. This one's finally happening and coming to fruition. It should be completed here shortly. You can see just in this picture, that is a foundation where the restroom will go in place when it does get delivered. You go to the next slide. So once again, we just kind of go over kind of a recap of the scope of the project. It's a prefabricated building. It's the same company, public restroom company that we use for the Buffalo Park restrooms. Great, they are, yeah. It's a great company. They've been really great to work with as well. So it's pre-manufactured. They build it in a warehouse in Nevada at their plant. Once again, this is going to be a year-round restroom, so it's going to have the same setup as Buffalo Park, radiant heat flooring, as far as keeping it available in the winter. It's a 3-stall restroom. It's very similar to the layout of a Buffalo Park. That is the rendering, the actual rendering. I apologize, I don't have any pictures from the company from when it was built in the warehouse. But the only difference between this and Buffalo Park is it doesn't have the rock facing on the outside. It does have the addition of, you can't see it, but on the left side of the building, there is going to be it's a water fountain and bottle filler combination. that's over there. So essentially, it's built in the warehouse. It's going to come in on a flatbed truck. It gets craned onto the pre-existing foundation that you saw in that first image that was already on the second floor. There's utility connections, and it's really neat to watch them actually put the building in because, literally, I don't know how they do it. They drop it right onto the utility stub outs and their connections, and it's one and done. It's kind of where we're at with everything with this building. We did get confirmation the building is completed in the warehouse, ready to be delivered. There's been they're quite backlogged on delivery, their delivery schedule. So we did get confirmation last week that the building is coming the week of August 7th. So the whole process, it's about a 3-day process from the time it leaves their warehouse to when they complete the installation on site. So the foundation was completed in May. We contracted with KCS Construction. They did the foundation work for us, which includes the foundation, the footings for the awning that you see out front. And they put conduits in the foundation as well where the utilities get stubbed out. Park staff has been out there doing some minor grade work on the site. Just essentially help ourselves make it easier to tie the sidewalks back in and make sure it's ADA accessible when it's done. As well as the utility relocations. We're currently working on that this week, the electric, water, and sewer on site. And we're running all those utilities. We get them to within 6 feet of the building footprint at these locations. So that should be completed this week on our end. Then we're waiting. Obviously, the next step is they bring the building in. So when they come in, they're, like I said, it's a 3-day process. It leaves the plant. They're going to show up on that Tuesday. They dig the utility trenches and make their stub outs coming out through the foundation sleeves to our points of connection. On Wednesday, the crane will be there and they will drop the building and set it in place. Make all the final connections. The only thing that has to be built on site is the front entryway. So once again, just knowing what they did at Buffalo, that was about half a day for them to build that front entryway on site. Then the last part to finish it up is it's back on the park staff. We'll be doing the tie-ins of the side repouring the sidewalks, which is reconnecting the sidewalks in front of the building, pouring the whole concrete, the entryway patio out front, as well as the sidewalk that goes around the side to access the drinking fountain back to the chase room in the back. But we're ready to go for that. So we would anticipate, as long as weather cooperates, the week after it's installed. So the second week in August or the third week in August, however my calendar works. I can't do the math right now, but we're ready to go. We'll form it. That'll be probably a 3-day project for us to form, get the concrete trucks in there. So hopefully we'll have a grand opening and this will be available for use by the end of August. We go to the last slide. Last slide was pretty much August when it's done. And just a reminder, if you're not aware exactly where in the park, it's kind of up in that picnic grove where that red circle is.
I'm totally gonna ask that question. I couldn't remember where it's at. Is that the Ramada down the bottom?
That is the Ramada down at the bottom. So yeah, so you see,
By the basketball courts?
what's that? The basketball courts would be right up on the top, yeah, right out of the picture up there. But just down, those are the 88 parking spaces just below where the basketball court is. So you'd have access out of there up the access ramp, and that new sidewalk would tie right into the restrooms.
That's what I was going to ask. That route is currently accessible.
Yes, that route is. Reason we had to do some extra grade work on the site is we had to drop the restroom down a little bit grade in order to make everything tie back in correctly.
Is there a path from the Ramada to the bathroom? Or-
There is, yeah. It's kind of hard to see, but there is kind of a meandering sidewalk that
Oh, yeah.
kind of makes its way down.
And for the one.
Which would be great because it'd be nice to have the permanent restrooms out there, as well as giving us the ability to remove the portable restrooms that are on site right now. That's savings.
I was wondering if there was actually sewer up there, but you said there is.
Yeah, the sewer is actually the connection is all the way down the other side of the basketball court, so it is about a 300-foot run. Get the connection.
So cheaper to do that than have septic. It sure is. Yeah.
Are you guys doing like a ribbon cutting or some sort of ceremony? You said grand opening, I know. I know we do the whole thing for the bathrooms and the bike park restrooms.
Yeah, we did that for Buffalo Park.
And we used toilet paper.
That's, I love it.
That's it. for
Watch
the-
back to 2020, when we did that paper, and now you guys have to do some things on that.
Yeah. That's a pretty interesting process from the way they make it to the way they deliver it on site.
Yeah, what I had to cover that, like with the floor is to support that CMU issue.
Yeah, it's on an 8-inch slab, the floor is an 8-inch slab. Yeah. Yeah, it comes on one just low boy trailer truck. Yeah, and just lift it up and drop it on
They build the stoop separately.
Yeah, that comes, they just build that on once they set the building in place. They're really efficient when they're on site. Yeah, they get it done in no time. It's a 3-day process from the time it leaves the plant to the time they're out of site. Good.
How long have you guys had the Buffalo Park one?
2019.
And then obviously you guys haven't had any big issues with it, so, because you went back to the same company, so.
Yeah, we've been really happy with it. It worked out really well. We haven't had any issues other than human caused.
Yeah,
Vandalism, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, the building itself has been solid.
great stuff. So our Parks and Rec, we get so geeked out by bathrooms. It's funny as
I know. Yep.
Great work, Parks team, you guys are your butt over there, love it. If I remember correctly, Councilmember Harris is not on the call still. How old do I sound when I say on the call? It's like such an antiquated thing, like we're all around the telephone. All right, then let's move into the, so we all got the monthly highlights from the pros team. Did anybody go to the 4th of July event? I went to it. Yes. How was it? Cool. Yeah. Busy. I don't know, there's a part of my brain that sort of turned off, an event producing part of my brain that I just tried to go there and just enjoy it without thinking of any things. But it was really cool. First year event, the laser light show was, I've never seen the laser light show, a solid half hour. My biggest complaint has nothing to do with y'all, and that was trying to get out of there was insane. And it was just, I sat in the parking lot for 45 minutes before I was finally able to, and I live 8 minutes away.
Yeah.
Like, I just sat, and I got to my car, I was like, all right, and like, you can see traffic both ways just dead stopped. And, that's really my complaint about it. It has nothing to do with the event itself. It's just, it was hard to leave that many people trying to get out at the same time, and roundabouts confuse people and all sorts of, I don't know, but it was cool. Black women rocked it, and the food vendors seemed happy. The lines were ginormous. It was cool.
Next year, well,
That's what, yeah, I mean, I should. I had to take a nice little bike ride, a little light on there.
Happy to give you, if the commission is interested, we can give you a report out on that event. That was a really big one for us to put on. And it went okay. It was fine. We had more people than we expected. Which it being a first year event, we were kind of just not sure. I'm suggesting, and our city management already would prefer for something within city limits next year. So we're likely not doing the same thing next year. But, and it taxed our people, our resources enormously. Just because we're managing events through the entire day. The parade that we permit that starts at 6 a.m. So we had staff that worked 20 hours that day. And just going into the evening event, being already a little bit taxed is probably not great. But our parks team, thanks to Gino's team, managed the parking lots as best they could. At least they got people parked, and getting people out was chaos from what I hear. Inside the event seemed pretty smooth. We had quite a few recreation staff, mostly temporary staff, help with games and bounce houses and information and those kinds of things. And of course, our event staff. Like playing the whole thing in Rockland, so. But yeah, it was huge. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a cool event and glad that the county and the city could collaborate on something like of that magnitude for the community. Yeah, the parking staff, there were so many people invest too, like it was well staffed, which is great. A lot of oversight. Yeah, it's really good, really good. How are the concerts in the park doing, if I may ask? I haven't really
They're
been one.
doing great as well. We got that one freak storm on a Wednesday in June. That's the only one that we've been rained out. The rest of them are going great. This Wednesday is 5:30 at Tree Park.
Oh, cool. That's a big one. That's a huge,
Yeah,
like, all size place.
That one's probably our most popular location.
Yeah,
I
Last
wanted
week
to
was
go
at-
to the one last week, but it's too far out there.
Yeah.
But
last
Mobile
week was
Haven,
at Mobile Haven, and we had-
Big Daddy, do you need the thing?
the Peachview one go well?
But
Peachview one, did that go well with the county?
I'm sure it did.
I heard it was pretty good. It was a little windy, but good.
Yeah, I have.
I did not go this year. I did not go.
I don't feel the Cheshire.
How was that? Was good?
Yeah. There's a bluegrass band.
Nice.
Just 2 men. String band.
Like it. Cool. I see the pool's closed.
I was good when you get to informational.
Sweet.
items,
All right.
I will.
Yeah, I think, does anybody have any questions on the, I kind of moved right, I almost casually into informational to and from. Anybody, commissioners, or otherwise have any comments on the monthly highlights?
So trail use is way up again.
It is, and you will see when you get the July report, now that we have up and running our trail counters on the Route 66 trails, that the park is gonna have some like real competition.
I do have a question, by the way, where's the Route 66 counter? West.
I don't know exactly, do you know? Do you
I don't know
off
the
top of
exact
your head?
location off the top of my head.
Picture where that might be.
We can let you know next month. I'm letting this Corinne to get that information.
All right.
Really, we'll need to get that from which Sean, no, or do we need to wait for Amy?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Then I can find it if I log into the traffic's website.
I'd like to know so I don't get caught in any embarrassment.
I feel like a traffic camera.
And for the camera, it's just,
I didn't know if it was like a trail camera, but
Like a game camera.
Yeah.
Do you guys see what parks in the city, county parks are posted? Like they have a game camera at Tut Hill and there's all this really cool wildlife. So that's pretty good. Anyhow, if you go to the county's, Parks and Rec, they post some cool pictures from Tut Hill. And actually, I saw that restroom on the pros Parks and Rec, on the pros Facebook, I think today or recently. Someone posted about the restroom foundation and how the restrooms come in. I think I just read about that online. On social media a lot these days. I'm pretty darn sure. It sounded all really familiar. Maybe I read in the update. Where did I read that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Was it in the July update?
it might have been in your,
Wow, I didn't want the report. You're right. I know on Facebook.
we do have, speaking of open space, we have some trail cameras. Mostly to help us with vandalism of the cultural sites. At Picture Canyon especially, but we have some trail cameras there as well. For sure.
I know flood does too. Track the flood, so you log in, so you know how to level water is of the forest.
That's cool. Great, so, yeah, ready for some informational items?
So I have a few things for you. At the July 3rd city council meeting, which was their last one before their summer recess. And that's when they heard the citizen petition about reconsidering the May 16th decision to approve the design and construction of the pickleball courts at Bushmaster Park. The motion to reconsider that previous decision did not pass. So the contract is moving forward as planned. Staff picked up that ball and started running with it already, mainly Amy. So she's got the contractor back on board and they're working on a concept design that hopefully, not sure how the timing will work out, but hopefully we can provide a concept to you guys in August. We are still working under the council direction to move the courts as north as possible to get further as far away from homes as possible. Minimize tree removal and we'll still go back to them in the fall to decide on hours of play and hours that the lights will be available. Since some of the concepts that you all have already seen have been out there, we have a new idea that we're working on that we think is even better than what we had previously considered. So, but we need to do a little bit more work with that contractor before we air it too much in prime time. So we're moving forward.
Is it still planned to be completed this summer, fall, or?
It's not now, because we got their construction timelines, so they said that we might be able to phase some parts in and maybe do part of it this fall and some of it and then complete it in the spring or summer next year. There was also on that night another citizen petition that came forward. So after the council wanted to move forward to possibly reconsider the May 16th decision, and that was a citizen petition from the neighborhood, the pickleball groups submitted a citizen petition that was also considered on July 3rd. To reopen the discussion about the pickleball courts in Fort Park Annex. You might remember that the council directed staff to remove the pickleball courts from the annex property and put them where the dog park currently is because it was not a compatible use with the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. So the pickleball group was thinking if they weren't going to get Bushmaster Park project moving forward, then they wanted to reopen the Fort Park concept. And the council did not move that forward either, which is fine since they didn't reconsider that Bushmaster. So that's the fun with pickleball. And hopefully more information for you all to review in August. And then we hope to, since council has been on break, there is now a new citizen petition from the neighborhood that will go on the August 28th council meeting. That's their first one upon their return from summer recess. And it's requesting I'm trying to think of the way they phrased it, but basically a neighborhood impact analysis of the project, including traffic, noise, character of the park, etc. And they want a more robust public engagement process. That's what's in their petition. So council will hear that at the end of August. We will still be going back to them. Moving forward as planned, we'll be going back to them in the fall, as I said, with the rules updates, and at that time we'll be able to give them a good progress update. If we have some information that we can share with you all, we'll share that with the council as well via email probably before they return. So hopefully they would have that information as they make their decision on August 28th about that. Next. Going on to good, really good stuff, July is Parks and Rec Month. We have a lot of activities going on. We had a really fun city council proclamation that we as pro staff dedicated to a previous city Flagstaff Parks and Rec director, Mr. Ted Ingalls. He was able to join us for that proclamation. And unfortunately, the Sunday before 4th of July, he passed away. So it was kind of bittersweet. But awesome that he could join us and he could get that dedication. Amy and I presented that proclamation and a picture that included Ken, the mayor, giving the proclamation to his family last week. But we also have lots of activities going on, so just keep posted on our Facebook page, concerts in the park, and the best, like all of that is part of Parks and Rec. And as you probably saw on your way in, and autumn, as you're probably possibly just hearing, the pool is closed indefinitely here for some unscheduled maintenance. We do not have an ETA yet for reopening. Pardon me for using my phone earlier. I was getting some updates on some contractors that were trying to get in as soon as possible. My hope is that sometime next week we can open. We are definitely closed for this week. We need to test our air quality to ensure that it's safe for everybody. We've had some concerns coming forward, mainly from staff. And so we're just bringing in some consultants to help us out. So we're testing airflows, we're gonna test chemicals in the air, that fun stuff. And then move forward with them, whatever their recommendations are. We just out of an abundance of caution. So we had a lot of upset families and kids and swim lessons and it's been really fun.
Yeah.
And all this went down last Friday. Yep.
You guys do annual maintenance at the pool, right? Is this something that you would add, I don't know if this is something that needs to be checked often, or is this something you would then consider adding to that kind of annual time you're closing?
We're gonna see what the consultant recommends. But yeah, we tested all of our systems. Our shutdown was in May. And we even did a little bit longer shutdown because we actually drained the pool. Got it really nice and clean and we did all of that. Not the chemical testing, but we did all the airflow testing and everything that time. Maintenance on the pumps. Yep. That's what's going on.
Well, on a bright note, I can announce even though it's a parks maintenance issues, the library is finally opening Saturday. That's who's going. That's you got all the ADA issues. Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca, for all of those updates. Does anybody have any updates for the greater good, the commission, staff? No, all right. Is there anything any of you would like to see on the agenda for our August 21st meeting?
Gonna keep tackling some of the fee structure.
I need to ask Amy about that. Her impression was that, like, if you all want to keep being educated about what our fees are, we could, but it's gonna be a very similar conversation to what you had about the cemetery and all, is that we need to know what our costs are. We need to develop a cost recovery policy, and we need to bring our fees into the 21st century. So if you're interested in continuing to learn what our fees are, just know that that's going to be the common theme.
Or is there a discussion about what next steps are, how the commission can help out with the process?
Yeah, I mean, our management services team is working on that cost recovery analysis and citywide policy. So I think Amy was kind of thinking until we have some information back from that, it's possibly not necessary to make you guys go through that brain hurt that happens in looking at all those numbers. Happy to bring it back though, a piece at a time if you'd like to see it. Sorry, I'm just like really cold in here, so my voice is shaking.
See what comes up.
And I can tell you, it's gonna be a while for that consultant to do the work.
Do you have any staff you might want to have present to it, maybe, I don't want to pick on her, but Crystal could present to about how to say, or, have, bolster some staff's presentation abilities and
We
then
could certainly discuss that internally,
something like that.
highlighting some.
This is my second to last meeting, y'all. My last one's in August and my appointment ends. And so I'm trying not to dictate a whole lot of stuff for the future, knowing that,
They have to appoint it.
yeah, someone's got to, you guys, wait, what? You guys have to appoint a new chair here pretty quick.
Yeah, if you're not able to continue, after August and until the council appoints someone, typically we just go with the co-chair for the rest of the year.
I moved to go to the coach.
Yeah.
And Ricky said.
First thing Josh has said in like an hour.
Ladies. Sure.
Anybody else with any thoughts for next month's agenda? So we wrap this one up way early.
There's actually three, isn't there three commissioners apparently that are?
Yeah,
Sure,
the
sure.
Commissioner Mark is terming out in August, and he's not eligible to reapply. He's, as you all know, been on the commission. He's got the most history with all of this. Commissioner Kerr is interested in reapplying, but his term is up in August, and Commissioner or Chair is up in August, but for some reason it doesn't want to come back.
It's personal.
Way to go.
Shane's
Way
like,
to go.
You said we weren't friends anymore? Was that it? No.
Yeah, so we will have 3 seats to fill the council in September, and I know that Austin is interested in reapplying. He's mentioned. I just need to get his application on file.
I some people from the open space committee, how about that? So sorry to take over. Okay, well, don't want to drag this out any longer. It sounds like we're all good. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time today, and we'll catch you at the next one.
We need to make a motion to adjourn.
I have the power.
Thank you, Adam.